Stephen Cropley with Winston's Lab here, and I have Noah Whinston of the LA Valiant, and we're just going to get right into how did this come to be? How did you decide you wanted to be a part of Overwatch? And then we're going to talk about putting the team together.
Well, it definitely wasn't a slow process, right? I think Overwatch League kind of went from a concept to an execution really, really quickly in a way that I think not a lot of people, including myself, anticipated, right? When we first heard Activision's plans around the launch of the league, we were surprised by how ambitious and how forward-thinking they were being. And so when we went from kind of making that first commitment to being a part of Overwatch League so quickly into launching what looks like a world-class esports product, even from the very first day of competition, it's something we're really excited to be a part of. And same could be said with building our roster, right? We kind of had an earlier version of this roster, but it shifted and it changed, and we supplemented a lot of the original members over a pretty short time span, and we're really happy with the end product that we turned out.
Now, before all this really came to fruition, it was difficult for a lot of players. We were just talking to one of your own, Numlocked, about how, it was a lot of guys wait, it's coming, and you had organizations dropping out. You had organizations or tournament organizers not stepping in because they knew that it was coming, and a lot of players were scared. Did you guys have any contact with players in that time to say, like, hey, like, we're interested, but we, there's no process yet? Or were you just kind of like them and saying, when is this coming to be?
I think it's kind of a mix between the two, right? As with any massive undertaking like this, there's going to be some periods of instability while it gets set up, right? And so I think for Overwatch League, what we really want to focus on is, of course, as it was coming about, as it was getting formed, there were definitely instabilities within the Overwatch scene, but the whole point of creating something like Overwatch League is to try and avoid those types of difficult situations in the future. Going forward, players now have a much more clear idea of, here are the paths I need to take to become pro. Once I'm a pro, here's what I'm entitled to, not just salary, but a career, not just getting paid to play Overwatch, but having the sustainability necessary to really make this a long-term life choice. And I think that's the kind of stability that I'm really happy that Activision Blizzard is providing through Overwatch League, and then that I think leads to a better environment for players overall.
And the last question, do you see this transitioning to other games? I know this is speculation, and you have teams in a lot of different games. Do you think this is something that is going to take over the scene, and this is the way it's going to have to be as franchises and things, or do you think it's going to stay the wild, wild west?
I think we have to see how well Overwatch League turns out, right? I'm a big believer in it. I do think that this kind of top-down model is something that can work really well when resources are invested heavily into it, like Activision Blizzard has done and like the teams have done. The core of it is, though, is that this type of structure requires significant investment of resources. And so this isn't necessarily a structure that works for every game out there, right? Some publishers are much smaller. Some publishers are a little less ambitious when it comes to their esports ecosystems. But, it's a little hard for me to speak to those. What I can speak to is Overwatch League is here. It's big. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, and we're really excited to be a part of it.
Well, awesome. Thank you for taking the time. Again, this is Stephen Cropley with Winston's Lab. For everything Overwatch League, check into winstonsLab.com.